Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mailbox for the 16th of November 2011. My name is Totalbiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of community interaction, gaming discussion, and all that good stuff. You can email in mailbox@cynicalbrit.com, that is mailbox@cynicalbrit.com, with topics for future shows. First email comes in right here from Red Squitter that says, I watched your Mailbox of 14th of November, and in it you have Skyrim playing in the background. However, you explicitly state it will not be a game you will cover in the usual manner. You go on to say it's too big a game to condense into the WTF's format and dismiss producing any alternatives as bandwagon jumping. It may surprise you to learn, but actually one of the main reasons why I and many others subscribe and watch your videos is the fact that you are commentating on them with your insights and amusing thoughts as you play through a game. I don't see the bandwagon argument as particularly valid because you seemed happy enough to cover other recent big releases like Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3. I do not see why Skyrim has to get the short straw. In the same mailbox, there was a question on the UI of Skyrim. You could have easily covered that in a WTF's video, as it's right there at the start of the game. You can and do point out that WTF's videos are a first impression series and should be treated as such. If not discussing the above in a mailbox, then consider producing Skyrim videos. No, I'm not making Skyrim videos. It's as simple as that. Skyrim has been the biggest bandwagon I've seen in ages. I mean, we're not just talking about the idea that, ooh, this really popular game is being released, say, like Modern Warfare 3, for instance. That's actually a prime example. Modern Warfare 3, yes, all of the FPS channels are producing a large amount of Modern Warfare 3 content. Cool, fine. That's actually alright. That's the kind of stuff they've produced. I mean, for God's sake, you expect a COD channel to produce COD videos. So when a new COD game comes out, sure, there's going to be a lot of COD content. That's fine. But Skyrim's been ridiculous. I mean, I see Skyrim videos in every single channel I go to. It's absurd. And it's not a dynamic game. Honestly, it is a single-player game. You are seeing the same content. The things are in the same places. The dialogue is the same. A COD match changes on a match-by-match basis. Things are always going to be different because it's a dynamic multiplayer title. So I can actually respect COD commentaries more than I can just simple Let's Plays of something like Elder Scrolls. Now, there are some people that do this fairly well, but I have a certain standard when it comes to producing content. Yeah? I come from a place, a wonderful place, a very cynical, a very cruel, but very awesome place called Something Awful Forums, at least a long time ago. Started posting that, I think, in 2006, if I remember correctly. They have a subforum for Let's Plays. They invented Let's Plays. Yeah? Let's Plays came from the Something Awful forums. That is a fact. That's where it all originated. And they produce exceptionally high-quality content. They have a set of standards, and the guys that watch those are very rigorous. They will pick fault when needs be, and the required standard in order to post a successful Let's Play on that forum is extremely high. That standard does not exist on YouTube. And as a result, we have Let's Plays that are simply some guy commentating over footage. And I'm sorry, it's lazy. I'll just come right out and say it. It is lazy, as far as I'm concerned. I can understand the co-op side of things, yeah? That's where you turn it into kind of a comedy show because you've got two people like we do, like Yogscast do, for instance. There are plenty of successful Let's Plays done on a co-op basis, but single-player Let's Plays, as far as I'm concerned, it should not be done blind. And this is not a disrespect to the people that I really enjoy watching, like Yogscast, like Jesse, who do these kind of things. But there are a lot of very, very bad playthroughs of that game. Incredibly bad. Everyone is doing it. When it comes to the, oh, it's not going to fit into WTFs, I don't do WTFs at really long RPGs. You've seen that. I didn't do it Witcher 2 either. I refuse to do it because you cannot assess in a fair manner an RPG like that. You can have first impressions like, oh, this UI is kind of stupid, but I don't know if the game is going to scale properly at the end game. I don't know these things. It's incredibly hard to do so. Hell, when I did it of Rift, for instance, more than half of that video was done with someone who knew the game inside out talking. Yeah? And even then, I got bitched at for it. I'm not willing to put that kind of content out there because I don't think it's of high enough quality. I'm certainly not willing to do playthrough content of it because the vast majority of that stuff on YouTube is garbage. It is lazy garbage. I actually despise, I might add, and this is way more prevalent on some channels than others, yeah? It's like, Yogscast puts out a few videos of Skyrim. Cool, yeah? They're not spamming it out there. They're not milking it for all it's worth. Same with Jesse as well. He's got a nice bit of variety on his channel. He does all sorts of things. Yogscast do all sorts of things. But then you look at some other channels, and within 3 days of Skyrim coming out, there's like 32 episodes of the Skyrim LP. It's like, oh, there's a new game coming out. Let's see how much money I can make from it. Screw that attitude. It's a disgusting attitude. And actually, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to get gaming commentators in a whole lot of trouble sooner rather than later, because games companies are starting to turn around and say, hey, this guy's making a bunch of money off our game and he's barely adding any value to it. In fact, his dumb commentary might actually be detracting from the experience. Maybe we should be able to get a cut of that. And then, of course, that starts to affect all of us, and then maybe games developers are less willing to allow this kind of content. So it impacts all of us when people put out rubbish content that is blatantly for no other reason than to make as much money off it as humanly possible. They are not being considerate. They are not being respectful to the content in question. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to let's play a game in a serious manner, you should have finished that game before you even start, or at least you should have researched the hell out of it. I did one let's play back in the day. It was Shining Force 3. I didn't finish it. I didn't have the time. You want to know why? Those episodes took days each to put together. Days! As in loads of time. There was a ton of supporting material that I wrote. Screenshots, transcription, all sorts of stuff. Delicate video editing, as well as multiple playthroughs of battles to ensure that I got the absolute best result possible. Why? To show respect to the title. And most people don't do that. I do not view straight playthrough content as a valid form of expression, journalism, or anything else for that matter. I view excessive use of that kind of content. It's okay to dabble in it here and there. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like when Day 9 plays some Skyrim, for instance. I'm not going to criticize Day 9 for that. It's like, hey, look, it's something he's doing in his off time. It's when Husky plays a little bit of Battlefield, when he usually does Starcraft. Nothing wrong with that. It's when Yogscast play a little bit of a different game. Nothing wrong with that. They're primarily doing Minecraft. They're just having a little bit of a diversion here and there. But when people dedicate their entire channels to doing nothing but blind playthroughs of games for the sole purpose of making as much money as possible from very little effort, that rubs me the wrong way, and I will not be a part of that. I absolutely 110% refuse to be a part of that. I could do it, and I know you guys would watch it, but you know what? I wouldn't feel right doing it. I wouldn't respect myself, and I wouldn't respect my own content for doing that. It's not going to happen. And when it comes to Skyrim, WTF is a terrible format for long-form RPGs. God knows what could be an issue 40 or 50 or 60 hours into Skyrim, and with RPGs that's far more prevalent. You know, I can talk about shooter mechanics very easily. I can assess shooter mechanics without a problem. It's like, oh, this is obvious how this mechanic works. You can't assess what's going to happen with an RPG. I mean, the end of the Elder Scrolls Skyrim story could be absolutely awful. There could be a game-breaking bug 30 hours in. Everything could go to hell balance-wise, and there's no way I would know about that. And I am not a reviewer. It's as simple as that. If I were a reviewer, I would have the obligation, as far as I'm concerned, to finish that game. I am not a reviewer. That is not the kind of content I do, and I absolutely flat-out refuse to do that about Skyrim. And I would hope that the vast majority of my subscribers actually respect that point of view. Because when it comes down to making specific videos, I will make the videos I feel comfortable making, and I think are good content. You want to know how many WTF is I've just deleted and just never shown? Tons. There are loads of games that I've just said, no, this content sucked. I did the commentary, and I'm like, you know what? This wasn't funny. It wasn't insightful. It was a bad representation of what this game is. It's an unfair representation of this game. Delete. Done. Gone. Completely and totally. It's called having standards. And it's what you have to do if you want to be really successful. I will continue to have standards, even if it does hurt me, even if it doesn't make me as much money as I could make by milling out Let's Play content with no effort required. I'm not going to do it. I refuse. People deserve better. Simple as that. I would hope that that has sort of straightened things out. I don't think I'm going to speak anymore on the matter, honestly. I've said quite enough as it is, and I don't think there's anything else that needs to be covered in that regard. This one comes in from Barrett555. It says, my concern is when you said that you think that boxes and discs are going to be a thing of the past. Now, some of the reasons you stated are not true for everybody. I still know tons of people, more than not, that don't even know you can buy games this way. This is not to say this market isn't rising and more people are finding out about it, but I still know a lot of people that don't even have the internet, much less have a good internet connection. I know the technology is getting better, but there are a lot of people that will have no way of getting their games if the companies would go with that standard. Look at the PSP Go. It didn't sell very well because it's all digital distribution, and the games that were released nobody cared about. But I truly don't think this method of buying games will ever go away. Well, I do. It's as simple as that. I'm not saying it's going to go away in a year. It's going to go away in, I would say, a minimum of a decade, which is what I said in the previous mailbox. It is obvious that that's going to happen. Already the sales of music on CD are dropping like rocks. It will not be all that much longer until CDs are a thing of the past. Digital downloads through services like iTunes are continuing to rise. For instance, if we were to go by the figures released in January 2011, digital album sales were up 30.6%, but the CD market fell 12.4% over the course of a year, and has been doing that for quite some time. CD sales are dying off. It will eventually happen. There will be no more CDs. There will be no reason for there to be CDs, because digital format is simply better than CDs. Vinyl exists, for instance, because it has a certain sound to it, and is, of course, useful for DJs. It has a certain niche, a certain collector's aspect to it, but digital copies are always the same. There's a point that I would make that buying a game in a box on a CD does not make a blind bit of difference, and in fact is in some cases less convenient, because CDs are prone to damage as opposed to digital distribution copies, which are not. You can very easily re-download them. It's extremely convenient. It will happen. Eventually it will. There's just no way around that. And yes, some of your friends might not have great internet connections right now. Some of them might not even have the internet. But over the next 10 years, they will. I don't think there's really a choice of that. They will have some kind of device that has internet access to it. For God's sake, your normal household appliances are getting it right now. Your phone has great internet, your tablets have great internet, televisions now have internet access, pretty much all modern TVs have some kind of internet connectivity to it. It keeps happening, it's going to keep going that way, and I don't think it's going to stop. And why should it? Why is there any reason to buy games in a box unless it is more convenient to do so? Eventually, it's not going to be as convenient. It's more convenient for PC users right now to use Steam in order to download a game if they've got a decent internet connection, as opposed to buying it from a store. There are certain things which may prevent them from doing so. For instance, the terrible regional pricing. There's a lot of issues there. Steam is not actually all that cheap outside of sales. In fact, it is one of the most expensive ways to buy PC games at the moment. That will change as the stranglehold put on by the major big box retailers continues to decrease. We've got a issue where Blu-ray, for instance, is being used because downloading a game of that size is prohibitive for a lot of people. That will also change as internet connections get faster and faster. The disc-based format will cease to be relevant. That's going to happen. And I would imagine that in the next generation of consoles, we will see a bigger move towards that. The example of the PSP Go isn't particularly good because, one, the PSP Go was released several years ago, and secondly, it was extremely inconvenient because the format up until that point had been running on UMDs. You can't take an existing format and then say, oh, this one has no disk drive in it, because someone's going to turn around and say, well, what the hell am I going to do with my games? I mean, there was no way to trade them in. There was supposed to be a way for you to give your games back to Sony and they give you a code and stuff. That never happened. That's a fact. Why would I buy a PSP Go? I had like 20 or 30 PSP games at that point. Why would I buy that? I mean, the PSP Go was also really badly designed. It had a smaller screen than the PSP 3000 and didn't actually give you more battery life. Why would you use a PSP Go? The PSP Go was rubbish. That's why it didn't sell. And again, you can't simply change an existing format from disc to digital overnight. That's dumb. It's incredibly stupid. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it from the start of a new release, yeah? A new platform comes out and says, this is digital from the very damn start. That's how you would do it. And it's not going to happen in the next generation of consoles. It might happen in the one after that. I'd even go as far as to say probably 2 more generations down the line, everything will be fully digital. They'll get rid of disc-based sales. It's in the best interests of the publishers and the developers, I might add. There is no reason for them not to go down that. Do you think they want to be giving extra money to the distributors? Do you think they want to be paying money for the idea of shipping copies around? Hell, even stupid little things like the risk of shipments getting stolen or leaked, things like that. They can eliminate all of that. They can completely eliminate that. They don't want to be giving a big chunk of the sales to the big box retailer either. They would love to be able to knock that middleman out. And they can. They absolutely can. Not only that, it's in the best interests of developers, because we're talking about the idea that shelf space no longer matters. Buying a new copy of a game is as easy as punching in that name into the search box. It's not a case of, oh, well, my game 2 or 3 years down the line is not going to have any shelf space in this store, so I'm not going to sell any new copies of it. In fact, all the copies that are going to be sold are used. There's another thing. Used games. One of the biggest reasons for companies to move away from the disc-based format. Simple as that. They would love to be able to completely eliminate used games. They would absolutely adore it. And I don't think that's great for consumers. Honestly, I think that a trade-in style system would be good. I don't know how it would work, and we've seen stuff like Green Man Gaming try that, but it still doesn't really make an awful lot of sense, honestly. I don't really know how their business model actually operates. I've used their site, and I know that I can trade in some of the games that I've got. I think I've got about 2 or 3 games on Green Man, and I could trade them in against other games. I'm just trying to figure out where their money comes into play there. Maybe they're just willing to give you some money back in the hope that you'll then spend more money. I think that seems to be the way that their business model is operating. It seems to be a pretty good service. It's just not something that I've used a whole lot of. There's a bunch of reasons why we're going digital. I don't think you can stop it. I don't think you should want to stop it. Maybe 10 years ago I'd have said that's a terrible idea, because I loved getting games in boxes with big manuals and things like that, but God's sake, pick up a copy of Saints Row on console. The manual's just a leaflet. It's just a folded up piece of paper. There's no reason to care anymore. It's a complete waste of resources. It's not even environmentally friendly, for God's sake. So yeah, all digital, I think. That's the way it needs to go, and I expect to see it happening minimum of 10 years' time, I would think. I could come back here in 2021, and I could say to you, I was right. Nah. Simple as that. Okay, folks, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching the Mailbox. Please bear in mind that I am down at the Insomnia 44 Festival from Thursday evening until Monday afternoon. I will try and provide you a Mailbox on Thursday. I can't promise it, but I will try it. And I'll also be taking my Trine footage down as well. I've got some exclusive Trine 2 stuff that is not available anywhere else. I will try and release that on Thursday if I have the time. Otherwise, I'll be casting the IPL qualifier over in Telford. Hopefully you guys can actually come down and see that. If you're near Telford, you should definitely get a spectator pass. It's great. And of course, if you're attending the LAN, then I will see you there. It is a great event. And the stream will be available. Check out teamliquid.net for information on that. That's always the best place to go if you're looking for streams for events. And we should be running before MLG, so there shouldn't be too much of an overlap there. I'll see you next time.
Mutation complete. Our forces are under attack.